Good evening. I'm Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I am Sean Roman.
And this is the On the Sports Lines Super Bowl special. The conference championships are in the books. One was a wild ride, the other a blowout. And at the end, we have the defending champion Seahawks and the Patriots heading to Glendale, Arizona. Not Seattle, as Bill Belichick said after the Patriots win, for Super Bowl 49. And we're going to break it all down for you tonight. As always, we want to hear from you. So email us at fanspeak@onthesportslines.com. Send your tweets to @onthesportslines and your posts to facebook.com/onthesportslines. We just may read them on the show.
Yeah, Sean, you missed last show. I didn't even do it because you weren't here. It just isn't the same without you.
Just won in
That's right.
2015, Jay.
I will guarantee that.
All right.
Well, we're going to start our both sides of the ball breakdown with strength versus strength for each team. The Patriots' high-powered offense versus the Seahawks' top-flight defense. Jay, what'll you be watching for when Tom Brady and company have the ball?
I'm going to be looking at their short passing game. Now, New England has always done a good job of tailoring their offense to the skill sets of the playmakers they have on hand. This season, their passing attack has been more of the chain-moving variety as opposed to the big play variety, and they've been very, very proficient. With Brady orchestrating, they're third in the NFL in quarterback rating, third in touchdowns scored, and third in third down conversion percentage on passes of 10 yards or less. The primary target in this case is Julian Edelman, who, as I noted in the last show, led the team in targets and receptions. Patriots got a career year out of Brandon LaFell, who also thrived on this defense. He was ranked third on the team in both targets and catches. And they did a nice job of utilizing Shane Vereen out of the backfield. He's really good at catching passes, 52 this season. They've done an excellent job schematically of getting Edelman open in the underneath and middle zones, especially out of trip formations, 3 right or 3 left. Those become de facto pick plays where he actually is able to run underneath the 2 guys who run in front of him. Gets him free on crossing routes at the snap. Now, Seattle's best cornerback is Richard Sherman. Now, he normally lines up left side only. So what you're probably going to see is Edelman lined up either on the right side or in the slot to get a better matchup in the Patriots' mind against either Byron Maxwell or third corner Jeremy Lane. Patriots don't run a lot of screens for Vereen out of the backfield or with their wide receivers on the perimeter, that bubble screen. They don't do that. Vereen is really good at circle and wheel routes, and the Patriots will occasionally split him out wide. Patriots utilize multiple formations, lots of pre-snap reads to get the matchups they want. The fact that Rob Gronkowski did not have a catch until midway through the third quarter, yet the Patriots were up 24-7, proof that scheming to make him a non-factor doesn't stop the Patriots passing attack.
Not at all.
It's true.
It seems like all the media attention right now, instead of Tom Brady, a lot of it is adulation on Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
There's something about him that is really penetrating the mass appeal. It's really something that he's emerged as a superstar at this point. First tight end, 10 touchdowns in 4 seasons, over 1,000 yards this year. How many touchdowns did he have?
12 touchdowns, 82
catches,
plus yards.
Very, very impressive statistics. And his old cohort, Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
They haven't really lost him.
well,
They haven't
that
lost
guy.
a lot with him. And,
No.
the question is, will he get to watch the Super Bowl? You know?
From his
That's
jail
what
cell,
you're going
maybe.
I had just one comment about, one more comment about that. When your murder trial, and speaking as someone in the legal profession, gets bumped because it conflicts with your other murder trial, that's when you know you're gangster.
Well, I'm going to be looking at New England's running game, and as they say, every good quarterback definitely needs a good running game, and they have one. And you look at LeGarrette Blount. This guy has been absolutely killing it. He has been running for well over 100 yards, as Clyde Frazier would say, with bulldozer finesse.
Yeah.
And you throw in Shane Vereen, who's the speed back, and that is a dangerous combination. So if they're not careful and they don't pay attention to the running game, Tom Brady will eat them alive.
Well, that's the thing. And they also sprinkle in a little Jonas Gray.
Yes.
And that, if they're effective with that, that gives them play action. That gives Brady another dimension to utilize in that short passing game,
Exactly.
or even work the ability to try and take a shot down the middle of the field, the deep middle with Gronkowski. So, it does. It adds an extra dimension to that offense.
No question.
Well, switching to the other side of the ball, Jay, what should we be keeping an eye on from the Legion of Boom?
Well, I'm going to be watching their pass coverage, how they deploy their back seven against this Patriots attack. Arguably, best secondary in the NFL. Richard Sherman's ability to shut down wide receivers is on par with his inability to shut his mouth. Byron Maxwell is underrated as the other corner, and Jeremy Lane is their third slot corner. Could start for a lot of teams in the NFL. Hands down, best safeties in the NFL. Cam Chancellor at the strong safety spot. Earl Thomas at the free safety spot. Probably the most formidable unit in the NFL. How they cover this passing game is going to be key. They like to play Sherman, Maxwell, and Lane in physical press man coverage on the outside and in the slot, where they like their chances. They like their chances with Lane covering Edelman in the slot. They run Earl Thomas is a lot of safety high, which amounts to basically a cover 3 type scenario, deep in the middle. They bring Cam Chancellor up closer to the box, acting almost as a fourth linebacker. It'll be interesting to see if they put him on Gronkowski full time. They don't give up deep balls.
Think so.
I don't either. We'll see. They don't give up a lot of deep balls, which plays to their strength because the Patriots' passing attack is not geared to that, other than the occasional skinny post to LaFell. Off play action if the running attack is working.
Yep.
Here's the thing. Patriots' strength is short passing. That's a little known Achilles heel of the Seahawks. They are susceptible. They actually allowed opposing quarterbacks to complete 72% of their short passes. That's 27th in the NFL.
Wow.
Flip side, that in mind, it's going to be interesting to see how Seattle deploys its linebackers or even one of their defensive linemen, dropping back into zone coverage in that middle and underneath areas where Edelman especially and the other wide receivers like Amendola thrive, or if they'll use them to bring pressure on Brady. Here's the flip side of this. Seahawks only had 27 sacks this year, only 24 turnovers. Those are big drops from last year. Here's something to keep in mind if they like to go pressure. Brady's excellent at getting blitzed. He actually has a higher completion percentage, TD percentage, and yards per pass when facing the blitz than a 3 or 4 man rush. So it's going to be an interesting schematic chess matches. He was only sacked 2% of his dropbacks. Seahawks actually sacked the quarterback 11% of dropbacks when blitzing. We'll see who wins that chess game.
That'd be a good test.
I'm looking at how they're going to approach Gronkowski, and you mentioned Jeremy Lane before. I think he did one of the stupidest things and just basically saying he's not that good and looking at Gronkowski. I mean, if you feel that way, though, that's the thing that's going to get Seattle in trouble in this game, is putting the focus on there. Why say that? What you'd rather do, because now the attention is going to be on that matchup, and you're going to have Gronkowski run over a lot of the Seattle quarterbacks and really get pumped up about it. If you think he's not that good, what you do is, of all teams, you take a look at Rex Ryan's defensive scheme against Gronkowski when they played each other in really terms of hitting him at the line, not letting him accelerate. And they were very effective in that game, basically holding him to, where was it, I don't have the stats right here, but they were just very effective in that game.
A lot less than his average of 5 catches a game.
And they're going to take a page from that, and I think that's how they're going to try to contain him.
It'll be interesting to see if they utilize the same
But I don't think they're going to be effective because now they announced what their plan is, and the Patriots are going to build around that.
Lane should not be the one shooting his mouth off. It'll be interesting to see if they...
Well, Sherman's hurt, so he shouldn't be shooting his mouth off. None of them should be shooting their mouths off, and that's going to give the Patriots the edge.
They always talk, you know that.
It'll be interesting to see if they run Chancellor in combo coverage with a linebacker, chipping him at the line, getting double coverage on him to see if they can take him out of his game.
Well, how they're going to shut down the Patriots running game, I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to definitely be very careful that they cover their best running back. No question about it. They have to cover both Shane Vereen and they also have to cover LeGarrette Blount. Thank you. And they really better cover LeGarrette Blount, and probably gang tackling him would probably be a good idea because he's very much like Marshawn Lynch. He'll spin, he'll twist, pick up yardage, he'll dive to pick up yardage. You really have to cover him carefully.
Yeah, and that's the other reason why the Seahawks actually like to play Chancellor up as almost like a fourth linebacker.
Yeah.
True. Well, guys, it's time to flip the script and take a look at the other side. The Seahawks' run-centric offense versus the Patriots' underrated defense. Sean, what will you be watching for when the Seahawks have the ball?
I'm going to be looking at Marshawn Lynch, who has been absolutely dominant. And I want your guys to jump in and give me a little help here because he is in like a zone right now.
Yes.
To me, the running back in the past, he reminds me of running over people, breaking tackles, multiple defenders, just can't get him down, is like Jim Brown.
Yeah.
That's who
Wow.
I'm thinking of. And I'm asking you guys, does he remind you of like anyone, like let's say Emmitt Smith in the past, or Barry Sanders? And you think Jim Brown is
neither
like
of those guys were as physical.
That's right.
He reminds me more so of a Jim Brown, a guy who looked for contact and would rather run over you, or even Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell, yeah.
Who
Earl
played
Campbell
the
is
Hall of
pretty
Famer
close.
with the Houston Oilers.
And it doesn't last that long, that type of power, which is why Jim Brown left the sport early.
Yeah.
But right now,
Right
he
now.
has this
Lynch is
magnetism and power. and
He's an unstoppable.
He's using it.
He's an unstoppable
He really
force,
is.
and when he is on
Until his
his
body
game,
breaks, yeah.
he opens up play action passing, allowing them to try and make big plays. Actually allows Russell Wilson to make plays
No
with
question
his legs.
about it.
Yes, he does.
And if he's going strong, that really makes their read option
Oh,
work
yes.
better. I mean, I gave you the stat offline, Sean. First three
What?
quarters,
Yeah.
7 carries, 28 yards, no score. The fourth quarter alone, 8 rushes, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns using that zone read option, and that's because Lynch was pounding the hell out of him.
Yep.
I mean,
Beast
I
mode came
expect a
alive.
good 120 yards from him.
Hey, if they
He's
don't shut
very
him down, he'll
capable.
get
157 the
150.
last
Yeah,
game.
he's very capable of doing
Yep.
it.
So tell me a little about Russell Wilson now.
Here's the thing. Russell Wilson, everybody talks about his legs, but he's going to have to make some plays in the passing game. And the question is, how are they going to scheme to give him the best chance to do that? He's a dual threat quarterback, and they talk about it. But here's the thing. If you put the first 45 minutes or so of that game against the Packers where he was flat out awful aside, Seattle's not an overwhelming passing attack to begin with. They were 27th in the NFL in pass yards. So it's not surprising considering they were number 1 in the NFL in rushing by a wide margin. Seattle does put Wilson in good position that best allowed him to make plays in the passing game. He's best at throwing on the move, but with touch both short and downfield. He can do it going left or right, which is a skill not a lot of quarterbacks have. So rollouts, bootlegs, moving pocket type plays are where he can best utilize this ability and make plays. And as we saw in the Panthers game, he's improved his anticipation of his receivers and timing on their routes. He was phenomenal against the Panthers. The question will be if and how offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell incorporates Wilson's, for lack of a better phrase, sandlot ability to make plays late in the downs, especially with the trouble the Seahawks receivers are likely to have getting open early in their routes against the New England secondary.
Yes, which leads to my point about the coverage that the Seattle receivers are going to receive. When you have a guy like Revis and Brown, or two guys who can cover almost anybody, Revis almost reads your mind in terms of how he covers. He's incredible.
Yeah, so what are Baldwin, Kearse, and Wilson going to do against that?
They are going to have a rough time getting open, both of them. I think the guy who might hurt them, though, might be Wilson, as he's done to a number of teams. He's sort of the X factor that nobody really takes seriously until he gets by everybody for a touchdown. So I think that's the guy the Patriots have to be careful with, that they don't leave him open while they're covering the two main threats that are the deep guys.
Yeah, he's underrated, but he's making a name for himself, and we'll see
is.
just how much he's able to actually make plays in the middle of the field for them.
Well, Sean, what should we be keeping an eye on from the Patriots defense?
For the last decade, especially think of the years that the Patriots played the Giants, they were setting records on offense. But this year, more than the other years that the Patriots made the Super Bowl, I think they have the most complete defense.
They may.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to focus on the read option of Seattle. And I think if you look, they are probably going to allocate a spy on Russell Wilson as the game progresses.
I'll tell you about that in a minute or two.
But they might not do it right away. I mean, that's going to be the big thing, because if you're running the read zone option, first 3 quarters, Seahawks were very ineffective. So I think the Patriots will be happy to take that.
Yeah.
Just it comes down to how you play in the fourth quarter. But if they could do this again, 7 carries, 28 yards on the read option, they've effectively won that battle. They just can't let the bottom fall out in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter on the read option, what did Seattle do? 8 carries, 85 yards in bunches. But that to me is more of a fluke than actually a telling statistic.
It all depends. It'll be interesting to see. They're probably going to look to go to the edges because Vince Wilfork is a mountain in the middle. You're not running too much up the gut against him.
No, not at all.
So here's my thing, and Sean alluded to it. Will the Patriots put a spy on Russell Wilson? The NFC title game, especially on obvious passing downs, Green Bay kept one of its linebackers, often Clay Matthews, in front of
Clay
Russell
Matthews.
Wilson
I think
while
you
he's
have
in
to.
the pocket. Matthews would occasionally blitz through the A-gap to pressure Wilson, but he was also responsible for keeping Wilson from getting to the edge where he is the most dangerous. Now, with Revis and Brandon Browner, those are cornerbacks that rival Seattle's. Patrick Chung is at the top of his game right now as his safety, and this is a Seahawks receiving core that, I'm sorry, does not have an A-list playmaker, and the Patriots can actually afford to, in my mind, put a spy on Wilson, especially if you've got Chung or McCourty. Their two safeties, one of them up on Wilson.
On Wilson, yep.
Jamie Collins and Donta Hightower, who are a pair of excellent inside linebacker. Collins probably has one of the best combinations of speed, quickness, and burst in the NFL.
Yep.
Hightower has been doing a great job of making the defensive calls. He took over for Gerard Mayo, who injured his ACL and was out. He's been stuffing the run. He's been a strong blitzer through the A-gap. Either would I be ideal as a spy, but I'd lean toward Collins, who has the edge and athletic ability. So I'll be looking to see how often they do that and on what type of scenario, downs and distance they do.
True.
Well, my thought as far as how the Seattle receivers will do, I think what you have to look at is you have to decide if you want to double team any of them, and I'm not sure they're going to have to do that.
With Brown and Revis, you don't need to double team anyone. Those guys can shut down guys on the edge just as well as Sherman and Maxwell can.
I couldn't agree more.
So do you think they're going to stay man?
I think for the most part they'll stay man with those guys.
These guys speak a little, Jay.
That's what I'm saying.
No, it's okay. He can jump in if he wants.
What I have seen is they've done mostly man principles on the corners. Yeah. They've had their safeties being able to roam or play up and down, similar to how the Seahawks run the coverage. To me, the difference is, and Steve, we talked about this, the difference is the level of talent in the receiving corps between each team. So.
Yes, we have.
Okay, well, you know what time it is now.
Yep.
Yes.
Prognostication time. Tell me who takes home the Lombardi Trophy on February 1st. Tell me the score and who will be game MVP.
Sean, you missed our September show. Who did you pick to go to the Super Bowl? What'd you tell me back then?
I probably would have picked the Giants because I picked them the year before, so I can't say I don't pick the winner.
Who else would you pick from the AFC?
I may have picked the Bengals.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I got to be honest.
That sounds like
right.
you.
I'm not going to say now.
Classic Roman.
But I got to ask you guys, so how'd you guys do on the college football championship picks on this show?
Yeah, we all went 0 for 4. Picking Ohio State.
Right on that
Who you got in this game?
Yeah, who do you
We're not
got?
talking about that right now.
That's right.
I think it comes down to the Seattle here making a terrible mistake, putting their cards on the table and trash talking, and doing that against Bill Belichick and the Patriots, and coming up with a game plan, getting extra motivated. I think the Patriots are going to take it because of that.
Score and MVP.
36-24. Your MVP will be Vince Wilfork.
Well, Stephen D.
Well, you guys know who I picked.
49ers and the Patriots.
Yeah, 49ers weren't even in the playoffs, so forget that altogether. The Patriots, we kind of figured they would be there. Close game. I have Seattle winning this game because I think Seattle will find a way to get it done defensively, and they have the ability to score a little bit more than people give them credit for. So I'm going Seattle 27, New England 23, and my MVP is Cam Chancellor.
That's interesting. All right. Back in September, I picked Packers versus Patriots, so I came the closest out of all of you.
Yes, you did.
No.
Yes, he did.
I didn't pick.
I'm going Patriots 24-21 on a Gostkowski game-winning field goal at the end of the game. I think it will be tight because both defenses, I think, will keep this game tight. However, I think Julian Edelman will make enough of a difference, and he will be the game-winning MVP.
Interesting. Well, I totally bombed my preseason pick. It was
Saints-Broncos.
Saints and Broncos. So let's forget about that. Let's sweep that under the rug for a second.
But
I just think Seattle is a team of destiny after the way they came back against Green Bay, which we didn't even have time to get into on the show, but that was just an insane game. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
My jaw dropped open the entire time watching it. Like, is this seriously happening? It was crazy. So I think Seattle just has that kind of...
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they just feel like a team of destiny to me. I think Seattle's going to do it. It's also a little bit of wishful thinking because you guys know I hate the Patriots.
So do I.
But I'm going to go Seattle 34-31, very close game, and I'm going to go Russell Wilson MVP.
All right.
Can Pete Carroll get the MVP?
No, sorry.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Well, the other major NFL event that happens while the postseason is going on is the annual coaching carousel. 6 teams have new head coaches. The 7th is waiting for the Super Bowl to end so they can interview their top candidates. We're going to look at 3 old faces who are in new places. Steve, start us off.
Well, I'm going to go with John Fox, now of the Chicago Bears. He had a nice 4-year stretch with Denver. He took them to the playoffs, I believe, every year. Came up a little short, obviously, not getting them to the Super Bowl. But this man also has had great success as a coach. He got the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl. He was a great defensive coordinator when he was with the Giants. I think it's a great move after Mark Trestman, who did a horrible job at 5-11, couldn't figure out what to do with Jay Cutler, and their defense was atrocious. So great move by Chicago. Hopefully he'll be able to stay out of the cold and be healthy in his tenure.
Yeah, I'm looking at Gary Kubiak, who was announced this week as the new head coach of the Denver Broncos. And I'm not freaking surprised by this one bit, considering his history with Elway.
Me either.
Backup, roomy.
Yep.
And he, for those 2 Super Bowl wins at the end of Elway's career, he was Elway's offensive coordinator.
That's right.
Now, granted, only 61 and 64 as head coach, but he did win back-to-back AFC South titles with the Houston Texans, turned Matt Schaub into an above-average quarterback for a while, turned Arian Foster into a top-flight running back, and Andre Johnson into a first-team All-Pro wide receiver while he was there. All 3 of those guys are the franchise leaders in passing, rushing, and receiving.
Correct.
Now, there's no doubt that his zone read running attack can make anybody look good. Justin Forsett rushed for 1,266 yards and over 5 yards a pop this year.
Okay.
Joe Flacco had a career year for the Ravens with Kubiak as an offensive quarter, almost 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns. And if you're a Broncos fan, you got to be salivating what he could do with Peyton Manning if Peyton returns with the playmakers they have. I like this hire, however. How successful the Broncos will be next year will depend on whether Peyton comes back. Then again, if I was him, I'd jump at a chance to play with as creative and offensive mind as Kubiak.
Do we think that what do we think he's leaning towards?
I think at the end of the day, he doesn't want to go out like that because this is the second year in a row he has not gone out well.
Guys, did it bother anybody that Richard Christie was rooting for the Cowboys with Jerry Jones all those games? All right, I'm going for the guy who's coming to the only football team in the great state of New York, which is Rex Ryan. Now, what I think this is a good move for Rex personally because the expectations and the pressure in Buffalo, where the fans are a lot more friendly to the dynamic, it's going to be a lot more forgiving. And among a very powerful defense, I think he's going to flourish. It's not going to be a place where you can do no wrong or you can do no right unless you win the Super Bowl. I spoke to a lot of
expectations.
I spoke to a lot of Buffalo fans before this season. We're going to be absolutely atrocious. We're going to be horrible. And they went 8-6. They still had this attitude during the last 2 games. Watch this. A Buffalo fan actually told me, we're going to lose to Oakland. We're going to beat the Patriots. Exactly what happened.
Wow.
And so they're just like, hey, go out there, give us your best effort. I think Rex Ryan's going to do very well. Get them to the playoffs before you know it.
Of all the teams and all the divisions in the entire NFL, and he had to stay in the AFC East. Man, when the Bills come to New York or the Jets go out there, it's going to be a media circus all over again.
You bet it is.
Well, that music means it's time for the 3-minute warning. Sean, lead off.
The biggest question with Cardale Jones is, how will he ever get up for a regular season game next year? His run with Ohio State, its first national championship under Urban Meyer. Historic, something unlikely to ever be repeated. Let's take a backup quarterback, or better, the backup to the backup. Let's take him off the bench, put him in the Big Ten Conference Championship against Wisconsin. That's a tough spot. More unbelievable, the result, a 59-0 decimation. What an introduction. Then, enter into the first college football playoff ever. Who to face? Alabama, the dominant team over the last half-decade. Absolutely amazing with their 3 championships. And you win that game in your second start. Finally, he was stacked up against Marcus Mariota and a team that has been waiting oh so long for its first national championship. And Jones looked as good, if not better, than the Heisman winner in terms of size, strength, and grit. Now here's my question as I look forward to finding out this information next year. Is Cardale Jones that good? Or is it a case of him being plugged into the machine?
Who will sign James Shields? The baseball offseason is abundant with many good free agents. Pitchers like Lester, Scherzer, Volquez, Santana, Medlin, and Harang. All signed up. But what about Shields? 114 and 90 in 8 seasons, 220 innings plus a year, 14 plus wins a year, and postseason savvy. Yankees, Red Sox, Cards, Dodgers, or Giants? What? Can't pony up the money for big game James? Age and sabermetrics be damned. Cubs, Brewers, or Padres? Maybe you'll see his value. It's talent and leadership, and Shields has it.
When the initial rumblings about the Patriots game balls being underinflated, I was prepared to dismiss this as Tom Brady did, as a ridiculous non-story. Underinflated game balls? Really? Then the news broke that 11 of the 12 game balls used by the Patriots were in fact underinflated. And while it was not clear whether the Patriots themselves deflated the balls or why the 11 balls did not meet weight, the NFL would be investigating further. Now it's a story. Game balls can deflate during a game due to a variety of legitimate reasons, including weather conditions. And yes, a slightly deflated ball may be easier to grip, throw, catch, and hang on to. That said, the ball that started this, the one Colts linebacker DeQuell Jackson picked off, was in fact given to an official, but it's not clear if it was tossed out. Officials did check the balls at halftime and discovered they were underinflated. The media is reporting that the 12 backup balls were used, but the NFL hasn't confirmed this. Now, as you all know, I'm not a Patriots fan, and I'm not in favor of cheating in sports of any kind. But until I see irrefutable evidence that Belichick or Brady ordered some $10 a game ball boy to deliberately deflate the game balls to below NFL standards, all I have to say to those of you who blew up social media with Spygate and Patriots are cheaters posts saying that Deflategate was the only reason the Patriots won is this. 45-7. Did you watch the game? Even if the Patriots offense had an unfair advantage, and there is zero statistical, empirical, or any other kind of evidence to prove it, with the way the Patriots defense totally dominated the Colts, the end result would have been the same. New England going to the Super Bowl. Sorry, kids.
They say one man's trash is another man's treasure, but this is getting ridiculous. Rex Ryan had one of his worst seasons ever as the Jets head coach. So what happens? He gets rewarded with a new head coaching position the very next season in the same division. I mean, the Bills watched the debacle of the 2014 Jets season from the other sideline. In fairness, they've already admitted that Ryan wasn't their first choice for the job, and I realize Doug Marrone left the Bills in a difficult situation when he opted out of his contract. But really, Bills ownership, you're going to replace a coach who led your team to a 9-7 record with one who led their team to a 4-12 record? There had to be a better choice out there. I just don't get it. If I were hiring a new head coach, I'd want new blood and a fresh perspective, not someone who just failed at the same job with another team. I'm baffled by how this seems to happen every single year. And what kind of a message does it send to the players when you go with someone who wasn't your first choice? This move was so dysfunctional, it's almost jesting. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Sean Roman, I'm Nisa Petrilli. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us. We'll see you on February 5th for another edition of On the Sports Lines. Remember, if you want to see this show again or catch up on any of the ones you might have missed, check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines and check out our blog at onthesportslines.blogspot.com. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody. Enjoy the Super Bowl.